Is there a common trait of innovators that you think is absolutely essential as a seed to creating things that are really impactful?
When you're talking about real innovators, like people who actually do really creative breakthrough work, I think you're talking about a couple of things. So one is very high in what's called trait openness, which is basically just like flat out open to new ideas. Trait openness means you're not just open to new ideas in one category, you're open to many different kinds of new ideas. And so we might talk about the fact that a lot of innovators also are very creative people in other aspects of their lives. So you also need a couple other things. You need a high level of conscientiousness. You need somebody who's really willing to apply themselves, and in our world, typically over a period of many years, right, to be able to accomplish something great. They typically work very hard. That often gets obscured because the stories that end up getting told about these people are, it's just like there's this kid and he just had this idea and it was like a stroke of genius and it was like a moment in time and, it's just like, oh, he was so lucky. And it's like, no, like for most of these people, it's years and years and years of applied effort. And of course, this is why there aren't very many of these people, is there aren't many people who are high in openness and high in conscientiousness, because to a certain extent, they're opposed, right, traits. And so you need somebody who has both of those. Third is you need somebody high in disagreeableness. So you need somebody who's just like basically ornery, right? Because if they're not ornery, then they'll be talked out of their ideas by people who will be like, oh, well, because the reaction most people have to their ideas is, oh, that's dumb. You could probably also say they probably at some point need to be relatively low in neuroticism, which is another big five, because if they're too neurotic, they probably can't handle the stress.